Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, here with another episode with my co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
What's poppin', man? It's official. First live episode on a Sunday.
We are now bringing it to you live. Yes, this is not a premiere, people. Not pre-recorded. It's happening live in action. So every Sunday at 5 p.m., this is where you need to be. And tonight, you saw it. Yes. 50-year-old wives teach single men the game. It's going to be different, really much so a part two to the husbands teach single men the game. But we brought the wives in here. We're going to switch it up, give you guys a little bit of a different take on the conversation. And we are doing it with two very amazing guests. We are doing it here with a returner here for the second time on the platform. SBU Live here, 28 years of marriage here. On the table, on the set here with us. Welcome back to Hardly Initiated.
SB, welcome back.
So much for having me. Thank you.
How you feeling? You feeling good?
I do. First Sunday.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Very, very legendary episode. Your name has been sketched in history. Hardly Initiated history.
Thank you.
And you are doing this alongside of one of Hardly Initiated's favorites. Here, somebody who has been to the platform. Look, who's still counting at this point? Y'all already know. Shirley Austin from Marriage Inc. 26 years of marriage.
Yes.
We going in. Welcome back, Shirley.
Thank you for thinking of me, brothers.
Oh, absolutely.
Had to bring you back. It's funny because the chat, the chat and then the comments. So sometimes we'll see people, they'll be like, no, well, Shirley and Shannon didn't say that. So I'm like, wow, okay, they're using y'all as reference for the credibility of other guests that we have. So that's
we
big.
Gotta stay on our toes. Then.
Yeah,
right.
Shout out to listeners who studying. We studying as hosts ourselves, so we make sure we keeping the most credible people that we can find to bring the best perspective to the conversation as possible. But before we get into this amazing conversation, y'all, we got some things coming up for you. Ryan, let them know.
Yo, shout out real quick. Shout out to SB Nation. SB Nation in the chat already.
They in the chat.
That's lit. So guys, check this out. So no shows Christmas Eve and Christmas, and also December 31st, which is New Year's Eve. But starting back January 7th, we're going to start back with the live. So we first live this Sunday. You'll miss us for the next couple. But starting January 7th, we will be back Sundays at 5 p.m. Also, guys, just in general, three live shows a week, man. The boys is working.
The
boys is working. Over 1,000 initiates in the community, which is really huge. The initiates is just going nuts. And it's crazy because I'll see on like in the YouTube and the Instagram, the TikTok, people will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm becoming an initiate today," right?
Yeah, I see that.
I think you ran into somebody this weekend who said they was an initiate. They didn't even introduce themselves to you.
Man, absolutely. It's incredible the impact. You never know how far and wide the impact is having. Even on my friend groups, more and more. A lot of my friends, whether it's my brothers that's actually watching, or it's their ladies, a lot of other guys that we very close to, they like, man, my wife always watching the show.
right.
That makes us feel really good that y'all are tuning in and finding value. Okay, that's the number one thing, finding value from the episodes that we have here. So that makes us feel good.
Yes, and the last thing, I just want to give a shout out to our top 5 cities. So the initiates are coming from New York, Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, and Dallas. So look, if you from any of those cities, this is a shout out for you. So go ahead and drop your city in the chat so we can know where you at.
And rep your city if it ain't on there, man. Let them know. Let them know where you from. Because I love seeing, my initiates from all over the place connect. I love seeing it happen. As a matter of fact, for those of you who's just getting tuned in, if you've been under a rock, y'all probably know or don't know that we had one of the most controversial episodes we've ever had just this past Wednesday.
Yeah.
We had both Princella and Tim Ross both come up on the platform for a debate. So I want you guys to make sure you go back and watch that from start to finish because it's definitely an interesting watch. And actually, before we get into the guts of the conversation, actually, this is a good place for us to start.
Absolutely.
This is a good place for us to start because I've been getting hit with calls, text messages, the comment. I mean, the way that episode has, really started conversation has been incredible. And I think it's really important to get, the feedback from, you two amazing ladies as well, because y'all are married women. And I think I would say in that episode, she spoke for a lot of women. She spoke on the behalf of a lot of married women. So I think it's important that we get your opinion as well, so we can get a real, holistic perspective to what's going on here. As a matter of fact, let's actually start with a clip, because there's a couple places that we can start with kind of reviewing that episode. So Lano, let's go ahead and pull that clip up and let's play it so the people can get some perspective to some of the things that we talked about in that episode. So pretty much, just for general understanding, you believe that men and women should not live together in the same residence?
Absolutely.
They should not.
They should not.
Okay, so a man should not be living in the home where he raises his children.
No, let me tell you, there is separation pretty much everywhere. Everybody understands that there should be separation, because if you didn't, then no one would be complaining about men going into women's bathrooms, right? Everybody would just share a bathroom. Everybody would share locker rooms. People understand that there should be a healthy separation. And what happens is when you cohabitate, you put pressure on both the male and the female, which causes dysfunction in the house.
So interesting. I think that's a really good place to start the conversation, because both of you are, wives, mothers. And I think it's important to get your perspective, because as being somebody who's raised families, counseled other women and men who have raised families, let's start there. How important is it, or is it important at all, for a man and a woman to raise their family under one roof? SB, go ahead. Let's start with you, SB.
Well, I think everyone, or most people, would believe the nuclear family is a must. With the nuclear family, we have community. That's why we are so broken now. It's because the community is no longer there. The nuclear family is no longer there, and people are not real sincere or chasing marriage anymore. I do think mother and father is required. I think it is required in the same home if they want to have children together. It gives that balance. A young girl, a little girl, needs to know exactly what her father looks like, a masculine energy in the home, as though the male children, they need to have the masculine and the feminine also. So I think it's a requirement. It's sad that because, we have gotten so used to doing things outside of the realm of what it was called for. Now everything is dysfunctional. So to say, you really don't need to have your daddy in the household in order, because we've lived like that, or some of us have lived that way for so long. It's now normal and it's respected, I suppose, but it's not the proper way to do things. It's not. We want to have productive children.
Yes.
And we want to actually have community. And the way to do that is through the nuclear family.
Okay.
And listen, anywhere where there's humans, there's going to be conflict, right? If I'm not mistaken, one of her things is just the conflict and the pain that men cause and things of that nature. When we look at same-sex relationships, they have a very high percentage of domestic violence. So now what? Where are we, right? So this whole men and women should not be in the same space. See, the thing that hurts me about it is because men are some of the most beautiful, amazing humans on planet Earth, right? And then a man in a and then the energy of a man and the energy of a woman. Like, this is what God intended, number one, and he intended it for a reason. There are things that I can't give my daughter or my son that my husband can. In the house is ideal. Can it happen outside of the house? Yes, it can. That's not what we're saying. But do you want the ideal? So the ideal is us together, male, female, being that impression upon our children, things that, listen, when my children get up in the middle of the night, my sons, and they're calling for daddy and daddy's not there, you understand? Like, this is just backwards knowledge. So like she said, like the nuclear family, that's us together in the same household.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think a lot, because the nuclear family is very important. I would agree with that. But I think it's just a fear that both men and women are having, where, whether it's from abuse from the past, or just, some types of conflict, or just maybe an overwhelming amount of sacrifice that had to take place in a prior relationship, where now, the family is just not looking as attractive. So if I'm a man or a woman in that situation where I find myself having maybe a bit of prejudice against the opposite sex, how do I overcome that? Where do I start?
Well, to me, right, the family is not the problem. It's the human that's the problem. So you have to look at what is the root of why you have issues with the opposite sex. Right? Listen, I can go into my past and see why I've made all the bad decisions that I've made, why I've thought the way I've thought about, because there was a point in time where I didn't trust men. You know why? Because at 9 years old, I started to get molested by a man, and it continued. And then I got date rape, like, right? And then in relationships, and now I'm getting hurt and just emotionally hurt. And that's triggering the things that started at 9. Right? So you have to be able to be honest with yourself. See, a lot of people, they're not able to be honest with themselves. And that just as a whole, that is a massive issue in our society. Massive. You have to be able to sit down with yourself and look at the ugly, right? See, we want to feel good. We want to see everything that's beautiful. We want to hear everything that sounds good, right? Everything is about how we feel. But when you look at the principle of who you are, this is about a character thing. To get your character to where it needs to be, you're not going to feel good. Right? And so when I look at my brother and I have a mistrust for him, I have to say, Shirley, where did this stem from? This stemmed from something very unhealthy. Ty didn't do anything to me. Rod didn't do anything to me. He did something to me. Right? So I can't allow you all to carry crosses that belongs to somebody else. And that's what we're doing. We're allowing our men and men allowing women to carry crosses that somebody else put that pain on you, right? So where do you start? You got to figure it out. You have to figure it out. So if that means getting help from a counselor or a coach, do the work. Do the work. There's so many resources out there, y'all, for healing. So for me, that's like your first step. Like, okay, where do I need to go to get help? Because this isn't a healthy way of thinking.
And what about you, SB? I want to talk to the men specifically, because I do think that's a issue where it's a lot of men, I mean, myself included, where it's been some experience that I've had in the past where it was a little difficult for me at one point to actually trust that a woman is going to have my best interest and be, there to ride for me in a, potentially long-term relationship. So if I'm a man and deep down at my core, I want to be with a woman and I want to have this long-term relationship, but I just, cannot find it in my heart to trust. As a man, what do I need to do?
I think Miss Shirley is right. You definitely have to self-reflect.
Okay.
Figure out where you are. How did you get to the point so low that you attracted this type of person? We also have to understand that there are good people in this world and there are bad people in this world. And it's not gender specific. Right. It could be some terrible, trashy men, and the same for women.
Come on.
And we have to understand that. But for me, I've been doing this a long time, y'all. If Christ is not at the center, you can't trust. I wouldn't trust. So I can observe, I can pay attention, I can just monitor the situation. And it could be all me saying, okay, something happened a long time ago, what have you, but this one seems good. But still, there has to be a relationship, in my opinion, that you respect God. There has to be some fear of God that says, you know what, I'm going to be this type of person. I'm going to align myself with principles, standards, morals. That's what makes you act. That's just your character. That's what builds and shapes you. And if a person doesn't display that, they're probably not that. So can you really trust? I would say probably not. Now, this is me speaking, and I'm just that strict about who I am. So, some people will be like, well, they're just some good people in the world. And there are some just good people. But, how good is that? How far can I go with that? Can I, is that good enough? And that's just what you have to ask yourself. So I think there has to be a relationship with a higher power in order to say I'm trusting, but I definitely have to do the work and figure out how I got so low. I have to evaluate myself. I have to elevate myself, set standards, and just walk it out. And just don't allow just everything and anything to go on in my life and just say it's okay. That's what we do a lot of. They do something disrespectful. Oh, that's only one time I really liked them. then the next time, but by that third time, he really knows you like him. So he's not going to really elevate himself because he knows that he got you now, or vice versa. And you just continue to allow things to happen. Then you want things to be different. You want to have different results. And, you know, and also y'all know about the sex thing.
Right.
I always say,
right.
preserve yourself, hold out. You will see exactly who people are and their agenda. If you do that, you can think clearly through the situation. So
I'm curious about this too. Well, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say another thing too, like our expectations about pain and challenges in our life, right? Because you will hurt somebody, right? So the thing that helped me with my relationship and being able to trust again is saying, Shirley, you hurt Shannon, right? You're not trustworthy.
right.
And then we're not trustworthy to God. But yet every day we have to go to God and seek that forgiveness and that grace and that mercy. You have to be willing to extend that. And from my experience, I've only been willing to do that when I just sit at the feet of Jesus, like consistently, like we got a relationship, like we're intimate, right? Because in my flesh, I don't doggone want to forgive that Negro. I don't.
No.
And when he gets on my nerves and he does something that offends me, I want my wall to go right back up. But I have to come back to Shirley. You are not perfect either, right? So a lot of times we're so afraid of pain. We have this expectation that we should not get hurt. Like, and listen, this might sound whatever, but I'm like, pain is pain, bro. Like, not that it's not that deep, but I think we make it deeper than what it needs to be. It is a part of life. And I always believe that there are lessons and blessings in everything. So I'm not saying, God, bring the pain on. No, not at all. But when it happens, I'm sitting in it and I'm like, okay, what can I learn? What is the blessing? How can I grow? That has just helped Shannon and I become so close beyond what I ever imagined, right? And in order for you to feel the love that you deeply in your soul want to feel, you have to be open to also feel pain because she will be imperfect. But if she is not hurting you intentionally, right? So you got to put, okay, is this intentional? No, it's not intentional. She's imperfect. She's going to show up imperfect at times, right? But y'all come together and love your way through it. Like, babe, right? Especially if she has a genuine remorse and things of that nature, right? So did the person, like, where were they when they hurt you? What was that conversation like? Right now, if it's unresolved, I understand, like you're holding on because you feel like it's unresolved. But yeah, so you just.
Well, you know, I'm curious about this too, because another very important part of the conversation and her philosophy that she stated was that marriage in itself was unnatural and that we should not actually be getting married. You know, which is interesting because obviously we understand, especially when you know, we heard a lot about what she experienced personally, how we derived here. I get it. But as a woman who's also pursuing, you know, a same-sex relationship, I can imagine it's going to be just hard growing even that relationship, like a long-term relationship. I can't expect not being hurt by any long-term relationship regardless. And I mean, if you're not really with marriage, I guess these are all going to be these one-off kind of quick here and there relationships, even with, I'm not sure, but I want to ask you guys, because y'all are both married and have been married for a very long time. So how important would you say marriage is for us as a culture, for us as a society? I really want to hear your thoughts on this.
Let's go back a little bit. What did she say marriage was what?
It was unnatural.
Okay, so coming from a person that says that they're a non-believer, I think she may have said that. A non-believer would definitely think that it's unnatural because being married is spiritual. So if you don't have a spiritual, you know, monitor, you wouldn't think that it was a real thing. So for me, marriage is very spiritual. You become one with your spouse. Again, you wouldn't have to worry about living in one house and then another because you and your husband are becoming one and of like minds. That's how it goes. So there would be no issue, you know, with that. So you wouldn't have to worry about the things of the lack of trust, the long term. You would think it's quite natural because my husband brings the logic. I'm the emotional person. We connect that circle. We
Sure.
both are needed. Then we procreate and we have children, still connecting that circle. But we're doing it with a covenant. It's a promise that we've made to God, who we follow, who is also the person that you, Jesus is the person that you bring into your relationship. God is we have a commitment, husband and wife, and then God is the one that you are pursuing. So it's always God that's in the center or the head of this relationship. That's what makes it real. Outside of that, I don't know how real it would be. It could feel quite empty, or it would, you would wake up several mornings and wonder, why am I doing this? Because it is sacrificing.
Yeah.
I do sacrifice a lot. My husband sacrifices a lot. And you're always outside of yourself. You're doing for the other person more so than yourself. And I happen to think that single people tend to want to do for themselves. So it wouldn't make sense. So I agree with her, but I have another side to it where I say for me, it's very necessary. Because I feel like that's my purpose for being a woman was here. God gave Adam Eve for the purpose of his helpmate. And I think that's what we do in marriage. And you have to walk it out. That doesn't mean that you can't have a career, that you can't make money, that you can't do all these things. All of it comes together, but still my purpose for my husband is his helpmate. And that's what I'm here for. And I walk that out too, because that has a job. That's a job that we do.
Right.
And it's very fulfilling if you do it correctly. It is. It's not a slavery position. It's actually a very fulfilling position because we actually give life.
Yeah.
And we make this thing, we complete the circle if we can just adapt to where we're supposed to be. Our husbands, adapt to them.
You said it perfectly.
Marriage Inc.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, she said it. I mean, I'm just like, in 2023, we're just now coming to this realization. So what's happened thousands of years before? It's been working. It has been working. There isn't a relationship that has ever existed, that is in existence now, or that will exist, that will not experience challenges. Her and her daughter will experience challenges because these are two different people, right? Like, so if we're in each other's space long enough, we will experience challenges. So it will feel unnatural. Bro, like, I don't even know what to say to that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But you don't reduce marriage down to who cleans the house. That doesn't get them. If you've established enough that you have money, get a maid or something. Those two things don't equate. It's much more important than that. It's purposeful. Being in a marriage relationship is purposeful. It's just not two people hooking up. We had a job to do. Be fruitful, multiply. Do that. Tell people how good God is. That's what the purpose of the marriage was supposed to be. It's a covenant. It's not a business.
Well, tell us, because the thing is I would say the majority of what you see online is coming from men.
Yes.
Is that marriage is not really a benefit for men, and most of the benefits are really for the woman. So if you were speaking to a young man who's considering marriage, right, but still is looking for other options, could you tell him what would he be missing out on if he decides to forego marriage?
I would say I complete my husband. I'm an asset to my husband. My husband and I build together. I know in 2023, a lot of we hear is all about money and marriage being a business. See, I don't see it that way at all. To me, now my marriage has a business aspect to it, where we own a business, we make money, we budget, and we do certain things. But the covenant and the promise that we've had and the commitment that we've made is real. It's not based on how well you do or how well this marriage does. It's forever. It's bigger than us. It's gonna be no matter what, even down to zero. We get down to zero, we still gonna be in this marriage. Whereas a business, if you get down to zero, what you doing? You closing down,
right,
bankrupt, and you're moving on. That's not the concept. It's about giving. It's about winning together. And you choose that person. The husband chooses his wife, and that's the person you build with. Now, when you're building with a woman or in your relationship that you've built together, I don't think you would go in you won't have the idea that this is my stuff. You and this person build this together. This is your stuff. This is y'all together. And she's your wife, and she's a part of you. She's just not that woman. She's a part of you. You don't want to hurt her, and she's not going to hurt you, because remember, you all are becoming one. So if you hurt her, you're like hurting yourself. If you take from her, it's like taking from yourself. You have to get that concept. Again, it's biblical. It's not a business. So I think what we have to do is learn what marriage really, really is and how it's supposed to look before we try to go into that endeavor. Because if we try to be worldly with it and then a little bit spiritual with it, it's not going to work. You got to be 100% in, giving 100% of who you are to get that 100% out of it. And also you have to pick these individual, a husband got to pick his wife correctly. And that's a problem too, because I've been hearing in 2023, there's been a lot of adjusting going on with men. And I'm asking my men, why are y'all adjusting? Why are you adjusting?
What do you mean? When you say adjusting, what do you mean by that?
50-50.
Okay.
But she wants to, women these days, they want this house. Why are you adjusting? Why are you adjusting? What do you want? You're the husband. You're the provider. You're the leader. God gave you dominion. You choose. She says, yes. Okay, then guess what? Show her your plan in detail and what it looks like. You won't be here in 30 years. You won't be here in 10 years. Show her your plan. Don't adjust your plan, because every time you adjust your plan, you just invited chaos into your house. You just did. You might not see it that way, but you do. You adjust your plan. You say, okay, I'm gonna let my wife now, she went and she's gonna work 40 hours a week now. Okay, what for? What was the reason? She just, okay, so now, and we're gonna buy this bigger house. Instead of this $150,000 house, we're gonna buy this $250,000 house. So why can you afford this $250,000 house? Well, with my wife working, so you just allowed chaos into your home, because that woman may not be able to work that 40-hour a week job forever.
Right.
You all might get pregnant, not intentional. It's okay to have a child, but I'm saying you might not have been this year. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. So now she's working 40 hours a week. She's got to come home and clean the house, and she got to pick up the child from daycare. Now she's tired. And you sitting back and you're like, well, you wanted the $250,000 house. And she was like, you just don't understand me. Why you don't? Men just don't listen. I'm tired. Then the sex goes away. Then the relationship starts to break up a little bit. And then the man is complaining to his friends. And then the woman is complaining to her friends about how the man doesn't listen. And then there's no sex, so there's no coming together. But you just invited chaos in, and neither one of y'all can figure out how the chaos came in.
So you know what? Let's actually talk about that now, because I think that this is a really good, important conversation. Because again, we over here, we want to talk to the fellas, especially my fellas considering and in this space that wants to consider this long-term relationship. You said something big, because I think that was the light bulb that really went off for me personally as a single brother a while ago, early. I don't want to say early, but with talking to the guests and understanding the real purpose and value of a wife in my life personally. When you say it's a woman that you can build with, that's, I think, one, for me, that was like 85% of why I say, you know what, this here is why I need to do it. Because first, as a man, I'm just a man that likes to build in general.
Okay.
And the reality of it is, with a lot of these casual relationships with women, not only are you not building anything, you're risking everything when you bring these women with not much stake into your life. So when we talk about what this woman looks like, let's really break that down for my fellas, because I really think it's important for us to break down. So, because I don't know if guys trust their own discernment at what it means to bring a woman in your life that you can build with, right? So what does a woman that you can build with, that's an asset, what does she look like?
Well, my thing is getting to the foundation of who you are, right? That's because, and I'm kind of going back to the benefits, right? And I'll tie that in.
Okay.
But when you don't understand who you are, it is challenging. You will feel like there are no benefits to marriage, or little benefits to marriage, or the woman benefits more. And then it is challenging to even see what she looks like, right? When you are choosing a woman, you have to go deep into her childhood, right? God put something on my spirit yesterday. I was in church, and I'm adopted and I had some, issues with abandonment and rejection and things of that nature. And I realized that my grieving started when I was I was a baby, right? And it was crazy to me when that epiphany came. I'm like, dang, right? Because for me, being emotional, like I'm not the girl that's going to just cry and things of that nature, right? And I realized, I'm like, man, so I just started thinking about moments where there was grief because my mother kept me for a little over a year until I went into foster care. So I was grieving that. Then I was going, different places, grieving that, right? So I'm like, man, if Shannon knew this, I wonder if he would have chosen me, right? Because what it all produced in me. And so it really is having honest conversations and asking the questions that we are afraid to ask and having the conversations that we are afraid to have and being able to choose somebody who's willing to expose themselves. That is huge. I was so not willing to expose myself. And then some of myself, I didn't even realize needed to be exposed. Right. So it's absolutely being able to find a woman who is willing to be honest and expose herself, willing to take accountability. In the book that I wrote, that was one of the first things that men said that they have a problem with women, not taking ownership, not taking accountability. Right. Are we aligned in our value system? Like I can't even build with somebody who we are not, right? 5 areas of our life: mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, and physical. We have to talk about all of these areas, right? Then we have to talk about, we have 5 senses. How are you feeding all of these 10 areas? I can have a conversation with somebody and tell you why you are not succeeding in your life. I can tell you why you're not choosing the right person simply based on how you are feeding your spirit or not, feeding your finances or not, going down the list. Now, how is she feeding hers? Right? How does she spend her time? What is she doing during the day? Right? Let's say if she's off work, is she just sitting around watching Karamo all day? Right? For real.
Shout out to him too.
Shout out to you, brother. Right? But when we're having conversations, what does that look like? Like I need to be able to build with somebody who has something substantial to say. You know what I'm saying? Who, if I come to you about something business wise, she's not sitting there like a deer in head. Like, listen, even if she doesn't know about business, because her life is built on principles, she can help to guide you in a certain way. Right? You want that woman who, when you come to her with a dream or idea, and listen, it might sound crazy, but you want that woman that's going to be like, dang, babe, I ain't never heard of that, but man, let's see how we can get that done. Like, what does that look like for you? What did you envision? And then how can I help to bring that vision into fruition? Right? So I'm
going to add to what she says, because I think what that woman looks like is a very cooperative woman. But I also think it's a person that's very serious about being a wife and knows exactly what a helpmate looks like. Because a helpmate to me is someone who says, I know I'm here for a purpose, and that purpose is my husband. My husband has a plan, and I am going to help him with that plan, no matter what it looks like, or no matter what it takes to do. Because we are God-fearing. Now, I'm not talking about criminal behavior, y'all. I'm talking about God-fearing man. We are following the principles and we're following the principles of God. So as a helpmate, I'm gonna do whatever this man needs me to do. That's what that's what a wife looks like. And however that's playing itself out, then that's what I need to do. But we are following my husband's plan. And guess what, y'all? He actually incorporated me in it. So I have things I need to take care of also.
That's what you said right there is so key, because that is the fear about submission, that a man is just going to be on my neck and dominate me, and I'm going to have to do whatever he says.
Wow.
My husband, listen, I don't want to carry what Shannon carries. Don't want to do it. But I tell you what, when Shannon makes decisions, Shirley is considered. This isn't just about what he wants.
No.
You understand? But he is the one carrying that decision. Why do we want to take that place? Why do we want to sit in that seat? That's just when we talk about feminine energy, that's not even feminine energy. You understand?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry. I had to
No.
because that's so key.
I agree. No, he's taken on a wife, so he had to have seen that at some point in time prior to say, okay, now I have a wife. I'm going to incorporate her into this plan. This is what my wife needs to do. And I just happen to think that we kind of balance. We add two men in that way. We add a balance. Whatever if it's truly a marriage, whatever he's lacking, we're actually picking it up.
Absolutely.
You know, we have strengths. You know, and where he may be a little weaker, I'm stronger in that area. So I'm feeding into him, and the same for myself. He's feeding into me.
First of all, shout out to VJ. VJ reminded us that it's Initius only in here. We love you, VJ.
That's a fact.
And I need everybody to go ahead and smash that like button real quick as we are still getting this thing popped off, and we are still going ahead and having this conversation. This very, very important conversation right now. As you can see, it's a bunch of confusion being spread around here. We're gonna bring some clarity in the space here. Go ahead and hit that. Because I want to ask y'all this too. As we talking about evaluating this young lady, how do I know? How do I know? Because another fear, I don't know if men fear marriage as much as they fear divorce, right? I think that's even a bigger fear for my guys. Because, as it just seems when a divorce happens, I mean, not only is the family ripped apart, I'm sure it's emotional turmoil on the young lady that in that situation, the fellas are just like, yeah, we lose and we take the biggest brunt. And whenever that happens. So how or what can a man look at when evaluating a woman to know that when things get hard, right? And this is a man that means well, but when things get hard, she won't necessarily just pick up and run, but she'll try to stay and fight. Is there anything that you can look at and evaluate to see if somebody really got that dog in them, that fight in them, where they're going to really ride this thing out and obey the covenant and really stick in versus just running out when things get a little tough?
I would say she has to be a woman that is putting in 100% in everything. Money, time, all of it. One pot. If she has a job and she's working, she brings it home and she puts it in one pot with her husband. He brings his home and puts it in one pot also. But the most important thing, I think, in those conversations that are leading up to marriage, there's no talk of divorce. We in this for life. We're actually going through and talking, and speaking of the principles of being married. Why do you get married? What do we want to do in our marriage? And divorce is never a topic. We're going in to stay in. Now we are young people tend to put up parameters or put up deal breakers, and I did it too.
Right.
That's just what we do because our egos be all up in there, and you might do that. But after time, that actually goes away when you are on the same page or plane with the person that you're trying to marry. You have to figure that out. You can't be this God-fearing man and you just got this woman who, is still wanting to spend or dedicated to 50% of her time on Instagram or whoever that was you mentioned. It has to be somebody that has the same exact interest and goal as you. If that is to be married and to be married successfully, that needs to be communicated, and you need to actually see what her communication would be to you in that area. If it's like, well, if you don't mow the grass, or if you don't help me clean the house, or if she diminishes your marriage due to the fact that she needs help cleaning the house or vice versa, whatever, that something minimal like that, then that's immaturity. We're not ready to be married. Being married is such a grown-up thing to do. I mean, I can't let y'all know enough that it's such a grown-up thing to do. It's so selfless. It's these little things that go on in the world. You have to look so far over it that it doesn't even affect you in order to stay married. Now, some would say, well, that doesn't sound like a good place to be. Actually, it's very gratifying because think about it. Do you really need to worry yourself about these things that go on in the world? Do you really know? There's some things we don't need to know or have to know what goes on Instagram. We don't.
So just to confirm, because you gave us a couple things in there. We need to be making sure that this person is not talking about divorce.
Both
right? That's
individuals. That can't be our conversation going in. And we got to, first thing, 100% both people.
100% both people. Divorce is not a conversation.
It's not.
And it's a certain maturity level.
Yes.
That you need to be looking to discern when evaluating this person. because and I think we all know you've all probably dated somebody that's just petty as hell.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like, small things become
Mhm.
big things. Certain conversations they might have, or you hear the conversation choice, their palate is just immature. Their thinking is just immature. And I think that is something really good to, mention, because that's something that you might look over,
Yeah.
really look over immaturity in that way.
Well, when you're talking about marriage, marriage is like the most important relationship you have outside of God. That's the most important thing you're going to do. So how can it be reduced to cleaning the house? How could it be, I'm mad today? This is a person that is y'all are becoming one. This is yourself. We got to see it for what it really, really is. And it takes a very mature mindset to see that. I mean, you grow into it, but you got to learn to grow into it. It just can't be. And the most important thing, though, you were leading there, is the communication piece. When things are not good, when you don't feel good, or when you're going through that growing pain because you didn't get it coming into marriage, because you will have them. There will be some petty times or some selfish times. I really wanted that new car. I really wanted them red bottoms, and you just can't get them. You're going to pout. This is a little bit off, y'all, but it was one story a young man told me. My wife got mad at me because I couldn't get her hair done this week. Okay, it wasn't a deal breaker, but really?
Right.
Stuff like that. You can't, some people get tired of that. They will.
They will.
But you have to learn on both sides that this is not, we're not reducing our marriage to this, because it's bigger than this. And you got to get into the purpose of the marriage and how you want it to look. But communication is the major thing, because we got to talk our way through those times when I'm feeling selfish, or when I'm feeling picked on, or when I'm feeling you were wrong, or you talking too loud to me, or I'm feeling disrespected, or things of that nature, but in that, you wait till y'all get home. Don't do this out in public. Don't do this at the mall when you're walking past the red bottoms. Wait till you get home. Like, baby, whatever the situation is, or husband, I wanted them red bottoms. You just, do all this stuff and just correcting or checking at home. Because things like that disrespect of a man he will maybe divorce you. Depends on how you handle it. It don't have to happen a lot. It all depends on how it's handled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you handle the situations within your home. But it's a grown-up situation to be married for a long time.
I want to ask y'all about the spirituality piece. So I was dealing with a young lady some time ago, and we was having a conversation about religion. And she mentioned how she wasn't religious. She was no longer Christian kind of thing. And she was just spiritual, which I've heard a lot. Right. So, maybe I think it was the next time I seen her, I noticed she had a tattoo on her foot. Now, the tattoo on her foot was Philippians 4:13. Right. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. So the first thing I asked, I'm like, yo, why the hell you got a Bible verse tattooed on you? You're not Christian, right? And she was like, she started laughing, and she's like, well, that was when I was Christian. And I was like, what happened? And she told me a story, because, I assumed that whatever she was getting ready to tell me next, it had to be something extremely traumatic, like really over the top, right? But what she told me was that she had a best friend, a guy that she was close relationship with, just non-sexual, just one of her best friends. And she said that at some point, he got into, he was very active in church. And at some point he started dating a young lady very seriously. And him and his now wife was in a small group and in church. And the small group, they was having a conversation about evaluating your specific relationships with other women or other men in her case. And the small group advised that, hey, although you do have this purely this pure friendship with this other young lady, you should probably, operate a bit differently, being that you now evaluating this, your future wife, right? So he ended up presenting that to her, and he thought it was best that with his new relationship that they shouldn't operate in the same way. So that was when it started, because she felt like, hey, is that what the church is telling you? That I no longer got now she felt like the church's fault that she lost a friend. So ever since then, she's like, I'm not religious. I'm just spiritual. Now, in my mind, as I'm thinking about this, I started to think about, like, what does that mean for the potential of a long-term relationship with somebody like this? Because me personally, I'm in my word, and I'm studying, and I have a relationship with God, and I still right now, and as long as I've been born, I identify with Christian. But I'm like, is it possible as a man that I could potentially have a fulfilling marriage with a woman who is stating that they're only spiritual? Is that even possible? Can she still be a good woman or somebody that is worthy of, taking her hand in marriage? Or does she have to have identified with a specific religion or my specific situation?
I think it depends on what spirituality means to her, right? So just your definition and her definition, how are those aligned? And if it's not, then I mean, it's already hard enough when we are aligned spiritually
Mm.
to make a relationship, a marriage work. So, I mean, that would be the first thing, just to see like where she is. It's interesting because a lot of people are and I understand it, right? Because I grew up Adventist, and I was having a talk with my mother before she passed, and she was apologizing that she raised us so religious and not more on the spiritual side. And I understand that because as an adult, I had to completely like figure out, what is this? Why do I believe what I believe? And I'm like, man, the whole spirituality piece, I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on going to church on Sabbath, from sun up to sundown, right? Don't eat pork. Like those are the things. That's religion.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Now I am spiritual, deeply spiritual. Now I'll always be Adventist simply because I believe that the seventh day is the Sabbath. But I go to church on Sunday and Saturday, right? That's just where I am right now, right? So having the conversation of, this is what I want my life to look like. If she is not willing to go down that road with you, and you'll know when you're dating, right? Because let's say you go to church every Sunday and you invite her the first few times, she's like gung-ho to go. But then some months down the line, like all of that changes, right? She was just doing that because that's what you wanted. You'll trust me, you will know. You will know. So
honestly, I know somebody that needed that message because I got a good friend that watches every single episode. He recently, I'm gonna keep him anonymous, but he recently just divorced and he's dating right now. And he was like, me and him talk all the time too. We debrief damn near every episode. And he's like, yo, man, Ty, I got this woman. She's this, she's that, she's this. But let me tell you the downfalls. And that was the first one. Because this brother is like seriously on his regimen, his spiritual regimen, and like he's deep in it. First thing he said was, Ty, she told me she was spiritual. Not really. That was a real concern to him. He was like, that was a concern. It was a real concern. So, but at the end of the day, I think that's really great context to figure out what that means. Like, because that's just it's almost like a shapeless phrase. Like nobody can really identify that.
Because it doesn't mean you don't go to church, right? If somebody asks me, Shirley, what are you? I say Christian. I used to say Adventist, but now I say Christian. I'm a follower of Christ.
Follower of Christ.
You understand?
Follower of Christ.
Right? That's my foundation.
I think what it is the rituals, like you said. When you are in religion, you got to learn a certain amount of scriptures. And how many scriptures can you really learn, though?
Right.
How is that? But when people say spiritual to me, and I even say it myself, I think that I use it as I'm in a relationship with God.
Yes.
I'm getting to know God, God the Father. Now, Ryan said something a moment ago back about the young lady, the young man saying that we're going to change how we think, or we're going to operate a little different.
Right.
In my experience with my spirituality and my relationship with God, he changes your desires.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's what people tend to miss in all of this. When you have that best friend throughout your single life, throughout your rough times, and then you do take on the relationship with God and you start to align yourself with him, it is quite easy to change those relationships and be more devoted to your husband, the person that you're coming one with. You didn't hate him, you don't hate him, but my desires now are different. I don't desire to do that anymore. My mindset is now changed. I'm about one with this man because God has showed me this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So that young man, his desires and his mindset was changing. So it was easy for him to see the direction he needed to go in. He was being realigned. Whereas she was stuck on maybe the religious path of learning certain scriptures and things of that nature, and it just hadn't come to her. She hadn't had the revelation of
Right.
what she was doing, so she got some church hurt, which often is what happens.
That was definitely church hurt, and it's crazy because at that time when he communicated that we have to be a different type of friend, that was his girlfriend who is now his wife.
Yeah.
So he actually did make the right decision.
That's how it's funny like that, because people say, y'all, the clip that y'all had of me, people say real funny things. Well, what you gonna do when your husband leave you? I'm thinking,
why would somebody say
What you
that?
gonna do, your husband
I'm
leave?
thinking, but God.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of that, big shout out to SBU Live on here, sowing seeds while she's live on the episode. That's the big boss man in the back working. Y'all don't even know. She don't even know what's going on right here. But big shout out to y'all. And go ahead, make sure if you just joining in, make sure you hit that like button so we can keep growing and flowing this conversation.
And the people are so confused. They're like, what's going on? Is this premiere? Is this live? Guys, this is a live. We
Yes.
are live right now. We see everything y'all dropping in the chat. Everything is happening. This is real time. This is our first ever Sunday live episode if you just tuning into us.
Yes, that's 3 times a week. Lalo, play some horns or something, man. That's a big thing right there, man.
Lalo is
This
asleep,
is
man.
we got, listen, 3 times a week now, y'all. Monday at 5 p.m. I'm sorry. Sunday at 5 p.m. Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. It's going down. So yes, we're gonna really be kicking it with the family, y'all. We really gonna be kicking it with the family in here. And for those of you who don't know, we talking to the man right now. We are trying to figure out just some of these good traits of a woman here. And go ahead.
Real quick, Shirley, let me tell you, when you talked about men, that comment that you made about how men are some of the most dynamic, creatures on the planet, I just want you to know that just really made me feel good.
Oh.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just want to let you know. Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
absolutely.
That's when you're supposed to play the harp right there,
It's the
Lionel.
truth.
He had a whole moment just now.
Nah, that's
True.
good. It's good to hear those kind of messages. For real.
No, it really is good to hear those kind of messages. And it was important though. We left off at a part where, because I wrote this down in particular for y'all, when we was talking about the men who are afraid of divorce, right? And we saying, what should we do to make sure that we dealing with a woman that's gonna rock and that's gonna ride with us, okay? And this is important for me too. I'm in a situation right now where I'm dating seriously now. Like, listen, I'm trying to transition up out of here. These streets is nasty.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Oh, come on, don't play.
Did
Come
you
on.
put that?
Did you? He hit me.
Get him out. Get him out.
Hey, man, look, don't worry. I'm about to get a sound machine, y'all, and take the sounds over in a little bit.
Facts.
But I'm trying to get about these streets because that's a real. I talk about this quite often. I was one of those brothers as well that had a big fear of divorce. Mainly probably because obviously I came from a whole household with it and have seen, just we are inundated with stories of divorce every hour on the hour. So it's just something that, a fear that's all in us. I didn't really get your answer, but do you think is anything in particular that a brother could look at, or any telltale signs in a woman to figure out, to know whether or not this woman's a rider?
Yeah, for sure. When you make a decision and it's a bad decision, how does she handle that? Right? One of the things that Shannon will say is, I felt like a failure, but Shirley never made me feel like a failure. Right? Because he's made a lot of bad decisions throughout our marriage. Early on in our marriage, a lot of bad financial decisions.
Okay.
And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? If this is the decision that he wants to make, and I disagree with it, I'm going to for all intents and purposes, allow him to make the decision and fall back. And whatever the consequences are, that's what they are. Like, why do people have such a hard time with that? Seriously, because me as an individual, I make bad decisions and sometimes there's consequences. So now, but what happened is when he makes a bad decision and let's say it goes awry, I'm like, okay, babe, so let's talk about what we can do moving forward. Now he's more open because I'm not making him feel like a failure. I'm not calling him out of his name. I'm not even telling him that he failed. Honest to God. Now I cheated on him, but in 28 years, I don't think I have ever used the F word with him. I have never made him feel like a failure, like because he made a bad decision.
Mm.
Right. And so, and then when you're not, now, I don't know if I'm trying to think like, is this marriage or dating, but it could go for dating. But in my marriage, one of the things that is really big that lets Shannon know, dang, my girl rides with me, is he's not, it's probably more for marriage. I think about it, but spiritually, we're on two different pages spiritually. I leave that between him and God. You understand? If your woman sees something in you that she doesn't like, and if it doesn't go against her principles or value system, and she's like, you know what? I got to let him work that out. I'm not going to try to change you. I'm not going to try to manipulate you into doing something, because as women, we are good for that. I'm not going to talk down on you to make you feel bad and guilty about how you think or what you've done. You know, like, okay, she'll ride with me.
Yeah.
Right. You want a woman who, in the challenging times, she's not going to get afraid. You become something else to her.
Yeah.
You understand? Because of whatever displeasure has happened, something that makes her feel uncomfortable, or whatever fears pop up. You understand? So you have to be able to see her at her lowest because of something you did, and see how she responds to that.
See, that's so interesting, because, you know, that's the only thing, that's the scary thing about brothers who get married very quickly. Because, you know, brothers that's ready for marriage, you know, they going in, I've heard stories of brothers that got married in like 3 to 6 months, you know, and shout out to them being intentional about what they want and vetting for intentionality. And I do think if you're intentional from day one, the process don't got to be as long as some brothers, because from the questions you ask, how you move, everything is very intentional about it. So you getting information, probably even more so than brothers that have been with a woman just randomly for 3 to 5 years with no intention. But still, it's certain things that just can't arise, right? Because you can't manufacture conflict in those ways, right? Like, I can't, you know, manufacture you losing someone and us dealing with a grieving situation and, you know, seeing that. Like, it's just certain things that just kind of happen. But would you say that it's probably best to wait until to marry someone once you've experienced, you know, I would say a more intense level of conflict with that person, before you just go about jumping and, you know, proposing and going to that next level before y'all have really experienced any level of conflict with one another?
I say yes, 100%. Like, I need to see the different seasons of you. I need to see you when you know things aren't going as good as you thought they were. I need to see what happens when, you know, your mama get on your nerve, your siblings get on your nerves, like, right? I need to see how you handle you know, disappointment. You know, when you're sad, like, what does that look like? And so that takes time, right? And so now we're not going to take forever, but right. But if if we're together for 12 months, I'm going to see a whole lot. I'm going to see how you are with your family members. I'm going to see how do you talk about them? Matter, how do you talk about the ones who you have conflict with? See, I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna listen and see if you dog, man, my sister ain't shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna see, or you be like, man, me and my sister, we not seeing eye to eye. You know what I'm saying? I'm just hoping and praying that, you know, we can get on the same page. We can work through this, right? How are you talking about the people that you love?
Yeah.
Right. Listen, I've been with people hanging out, and then we leave. You was just dapping them up. That's your boy, your ace boon coon. But now you dogging him out about how he dogging out another chick. I'm like, wait, I thought that was your boy. Why are you telling me this? Why aren't you going to him and be like, yo, bro, why are you, you know what I'm saying? So that, for me, that's a character issue.
Yeah.
So I need to see these things.
Yeah, watch out for the men that be on the T, ladies.
Yeah, right.
The men on the
for
T.
real.
Your man don't need to be on no T.
For real.
That's a
problem.
big red flag there. But it looked like you were shaking your head a little left and right. What's your thoughts on that, SB?
What's your thoughts?
I think you do need to know a person, but I don't think I mean, my husband and I got married 6 months, y'all. This is true. Because I happen to think marriage is actually
Wow.
what reveals a person to you. The love of a person actually what tears those layers back. I don't think that you can actually get to know a person just hanging out with them.
You deeply you can't, but on the surface you can. But I think y'all are an anomaly.
But listen, I want to go further with that because even those things that you talk about, you know, is that going to break up your marriage? No. You gonna love him through that. You go pray to God that he fixes that. So no, that's not gonna break you up because we're talking about no divorce. Some things you just have to accept. In other words, people are not perfect. I got to accept that he grew up in a house full of chaos. You know, eyes wide open. I accept this, and he and I are gonna pray our way through this, and he's gonna become a better person because that's what marriage is supposed to do, make you better people, and that's gonna be our journey. But I do think that even though we were young, we put the deal breakers up, you know, out there in the beginning, and we let everyone know that this is how we feel about this particular thing. You bring this into our house, this is not going to be good for us. But we need to know what those things are, and we need to agree that we both think the same way about those things. You know, and if we can do that, that means that now we're on the same page. We're going to go ahead into this next step. And this next step is marriage. And he's going to see how flawed that I really am. And he's going to be there with me through all those crazy flaws. But I didn't do those things. Because these are the things right here you said that we're not going to do. And this is what's going to bring us up. But I'm going to do all this over here because I didn't know how to do this. God is working on me and he's bringing us together. And he's making us one. So I got to see, you know, what grew you up. You know, like you said, you know, being touched and things like that grew you up. That shaped your mindset. You didn't know it, but after you got married and the love of your husband, it started to reveal all these things, all these crazy ways you responded doing whatever, and why. We have to know that. We can't see it. Like you say, it can't be manufactured. Because sometimes you don't even know you got it. But that's what brings you closer in a marriage relationship. But if the first time you see him go crazy, you leave, then what was that? I knew he was going to leave anyway.
Wow.
Right? Ain't that how it goes? No, see, those are the things you got to stay through. But you can definitely put those deal breakers out there in the beginning. And if we get through that, you spend 5 years and nobody ever touched it, it seems to go away. You know, because, you know, I'm getting to know this person. I can trust this person. He was vulnerable with me. She told me this. I did this and she didn't, you know, throw me out the house. Because my mama threw me out the house last time I did that. You know, it starts revealing who you are and you start becoming one with this person and it just becomes who you are. And it just feels good after some time. So I just don't think there's a way out. I don't think there's a way out. I mean, you put those deal breakers out there. Listen, when you go into a relationship, I think you should talk about deal breakers. I think you should say what absolutely I don't think I can handle. And it should be something we agree upon. But we had an agreement as long as we don't bring a third party into our relationship, we was going to walk whatever it was out. And we build our relationship. And what build means to me is every day I'm pouring into my relationship. I'm pouring into my husband. We're not letting 5 days go by and we ain't talking. Are we just moving around the house in business? If that's the case, we got too much business going on. We need to reduce some things.
It sounds like you guys handled your relationship from the door in a mature way.
Very mature.
Right? A lot of people are not
Exactly
handling their relationship in a mature way.
I'm considered an old head. You know, I have an very old thing. And both of us come from a husband. I mean, we both seen two-parent households. So we've seen it. And we've seen it at its best and we've seen it at its worst. And we knew what we didn't want. So it's always, okay, how can I not get this? What can I do opposite of this? And you are exactly right. I don't think we do marriage well. I think we have to learn how to do marriage because I don't think we understand that it's forever.
We don't,
And we have to do it. We have to make it forever. We have to pour into it. We don't have to buy into this reality of 50-50. It's what you make it.
And, you know, actually, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. As a matter of a fact, what I want to do is I want to get the people involved in the conversation. It is time for the initiation hotline.
Hey, I know when the hotline plays.
So let's do this. We're going to actually go ahead and put the link over into the chat. My initiates, y'all already know how it goes. Go ahead and click that link, put your name, and you will go backstage. I need your camera ready to be up on you. I need you to turn your audio and sound on. Be in some good light. Don't be around them loud, ratchet kids in the back. I need a nice, quiet room so we can have a conversation. And today, I want to talk to anybody, man or woman, who is currently out here and vetting. You got Shirley and SB on here. We're going to be talking to you, vetting a man or woman. You got some questions about it. I want you to come up here and bring that here to us here today. Bring your questions to the stage, to the floor. The link is in the chat here now. All right. So check it out.
I'm dropping this link in there, but real quick, I want to ask y'all about this because wifely duties is something that comes up a lot in the relationship conversation. So I do want to get some clarity on what are considered to be wifely duties, and also when should a man expect to start seeing some of those things from a woman that he's dealing with.
Wifely duties. I think a woman, as an adult woman who is single, taking care of herself, she's displaying. She keeps her house clean. She keeps her car clean. She keeps her house, apartment clean, or whatever it is. She's paying her bills. Her credit is good. She's not going into debt. She speaks with respect. She dressed modestly. She cooks for herself, and she is willing to cook one meal per week for that man. But
It's a meal cap.
Right. Okay.
It's a meal cap.
Okay.
he's not
I
her
get it.
husband.
Okay.
One meal a week, but she
There
is
you
not
go.
washing his clothes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
But he can come over to her house and see how nice and neat her house is. See that her toilet has no ring. Fabuloso. He can come over to her house and see all of this. But he's not her husband. You don't give all of it away. But he can see that she's carrying herself just as she should as a wife. And all those things that she displays will be given to him once we say I do.
You know, SB, I like that. I've never heard that broken down in that way. So wifely duties in this case is really things that she should be doing for herself first and foremost,
Absolutely.
versus things that she should be doing for you.
Right. Because guess what? I have no expectations from you. I don't want your money. I don't want you paying none of my bills. You ain't got to take me out to the finest restaurants or none of that. I need you preparing yourself to be a husband if that's what you want. I can take care of myself. You need to know that I can take care of myself. I don't want to come into this relationship as a hindrance to you. I want to be an asset. You need to see that I respond to life this way. I'm aligning myself with God. I'm got good friends. I'm not on social media with my boobs out because I'm telling you I'm preserving myself because you and I are not having sex. So you need to know all this lines up and makes good sense. You know, I can't be holding out on you and you see me on Instagram with my boob out because that might be a little
Incongruent.
That's not congruent and confusing.
It gotta all make sense. I gotta be respectable, show you respect, all of that. Your parents, whatever. You have to know that this might be a good investment. In that aspect, you can look at it as business because you have to see that a woman is a good investment.
I like that.
Honestly, look, check this out. I want that was good. I want to bring the family into the conversation real quick because we got Londa here that we about to bring to the stage. Londa, what's up with you? You on mute, Londa. I need you. You got to take your mic off mute. What up, Londa? How you living?
Hey y'all, how y'all? I'm doing well. Thank you for
Welcome to
bringing
the
me up.
show.
We are blessed. I need you, Londa. I need you to do me a favor. Give me your age, your location, and your question.
I am 41 and I am from North Carolina. Proud to be from North Carolina.
North Carolina in the building.
Shout out to North Carolina.
Yeah. So my question is, can the ladies expound some more on the question that was asked about changing the different roles of like friendship and family when you are getting prepared for marriage? A lot of people may not understand that you can't walk the same way with them. Can y'all expound a little bit more on that? A lot of people really don't understand the reason why that is.
Well, that was a big one of my things because I will say, I'm going to say it again. Your marriage relationship, nothing supersedes that. That should be the most important relationship you have outside of your relationship with God. It's not something that you do in the physical, although we may see it in the physical, but when you get married and your mindset changes, your desires change. Even though you have friends, girlfriends that are really, really good friends to you, your relationship and your dynamic and your hanging out and your conversation with them actually changes. It lessens. You become more involved in the marriage life. You become more involved in your husband and how he's doing, children, if you have to take care of them. And it's just, that is what it is. You don't get married to still have a best friend that supersedes your husband. And you ask why. The why is because your mindset should have changed and you should know that you are more valuable as your husband's wife instead as your girlfriend's friend. But that doesn't mean that you can't talk to her.
Mhm.
You can't visit her on birthdays, anniversaries, but we don't hang out. You're not going to the naked paint and sip. Not doing
She
that.
better not be doing that now.
You're not going on those girls trips now. To see some of y'all, and if you feeling like that's like a dagger to your heart, it's because your mindset hasn't changed
There
over
you
into
go.
a wife.
There you go.
See, all these
There you
things I
go.
mentioned is very easy when you desire your husband in that marriage relationship. When you want that to be the best relationship you have, all that stuff that you leave behind in the world, it's not a big deal because you're desiring something else. It can be just as good. Actually, let me stop telling a lie. That is better
It's better. Yeah.
because your husband carries your
Mhm.
luggage
Mhm.
and he pays for stuff. When you go with the girls, you gotta do all that.
Over there in
Right,
Jamaica,
right,
over there in
right.
Jamaica,
Right, so you're-
Jamaica getting your ass rubbed
Yeah.
down.
Right.
Right.
I
Oh
be
my
seeing that. I be
gosh.
seeing them girls trips over
mud,
there.
the mud massage.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
Right.
That's
What
what
she
she
said-
That's
what-
single
what you
women
said-
do that though. Not
I hope it's a single
Mhm.
one.
Oh,
I hope it's a single one.
well,
Hopefully.
naked paint and sips. You're right. You're right.
Right.
All types. But what you
and
gonna say, Shirley?
that, you don't feel like you're losing out when you have the mindset of, I want to be a wife,
Yes.
right? And your love for your friends don't stop. It's just the entertainment and the things that you've done together. That's what changes and shifts. And listen, that shifts before you even get married, right? Because like sis said, as you're growing in Christ and as you're growing, your love for this man is growing, and you're coming into the knowledge of what marriage is, right? And what becoming one is. You're reading the books and counseling, whatever you're doing, your spirit literally should be changing and shifting. And so now it's not even about what they think, right? And this is the thing. I've had a core group of friends that when I needed to back away, they 100% supported me, right? Those are the people that you want in your life in the first place, right? They knew that Shannon came first. And there was a point in time where he didn't come first. And there were some conversations like, what's going on with y'all? You know what I'm saying? So it's you who needs to know where the shift needs to happen, when the shift needs to happen, that you're making the shift, and they can like it or not, but it is what it is.
So wait, go ahead, SB.
I want to add this because I hear this a lot. And it's not, ladies, it's not you giving of yourself or losing yourself. You're just becoming a new woman.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't adjust to becoming a new woman, hold out on marriage.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Oh,
For sure.
Okay.
And I think that's what, every level of life in general, like you have to be willing to give something up to get there.
Have to be.
Like even, now, like with my life and how my life has even adjusted to where it is today, just on a personal level, it's just certain things. I just certain places I don't go anymore.
There you go. Yeah.
Like it's just certain people I
Yep.
can't afford to hang out with at this point in my life because I want something greater. And it just only makes sense that for this union, the most important union that I'm going to create in this lifetime, I also sacrifice these other things as well. Now, I saw something very interesting in the chat, and I want you ladies to address this because somebody disagreed a little bit. Somebody was like,
shout
"Nah."
out to the chat. We look at
I
the
love it.
chat.
No,
So
members,
keep the
talk.
comments coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want y'all in here chatting.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, I want to actually call out who said it because somebody actually disagreed here in the chat. I might have lost it, but they said, I disagree because you should still have a life outside of your husband. You should not necessarily be caught up all in your husband and have no life for yourself. All right. And I think that was July Ford was the person that wrote that.
Shout out to July.
So I want to ask that, what is the healthy balance where you're not necessarily in complete isolation and you have a personal life, but you still are, giving your husband and you being respectful in that way.
I agree with them. I don't disagree with them
I don't
whatsoever.
think we ever said that.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about more so single friends, but you have a lot of married folks around and ladies that you can hang out with that think the same as you or align with you.
Got
And you
you.
can hang out with them. But I don't know what this life looks like outside of my husband. I'm okay, good with myself and my girlfriends that are married. What's wrong with that? I mean, why? why do you have to give up something?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
you're becoming a new person. I don't say, again, you have to go read the book and be ready to adjust to being a wife and the purpose of being a wife. It is a very fulfilling job.
And
All this getting lost
mhm.
in your husband and all that, you don't
Yeah.
lose who you are. You become a different person. It's a new person.
And listen, becoming a different person doesn't mean you cut the world out. Like, we're nowhere near, that's not what we're saying.
Mm-mm.
Right? We're just saying, like she said, it's going to look different. It just is. It's not going to look the same. When you have a baby, your life doesn't look the same before you didn't have a baby. Right? There's adjustments that need to be made. And so when we talk about coming together with a man or with a woman, I don't know, maybe experiencing the desire to actually want to become one with someone will help with that transition of being like, dang, I get it now.
Well, it's hard. You can't, a married person really can't, a single
A
person
single
really
person can't
see what a married
understand.
person
Yeah.
does. No, you can't. But
We have a
it's-
fulfilling, fun, wonderful life. Like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying, with people that we love and we hang out with and we go on vacation with.
Mhm.
Like,
And we just so happen to be married.
and we just
Got it. Got
You
it.
know
got
what I
it.
mean?
so
And as a man, if I'm dealing with a young woman, because people understand things differently, and sometimes it takes time for them to come to this type of understanding about the friendship specifically, especially if some of these friends have been around since way you was yay high, so to
Mhm.
speak. So if I'm a man and I'm dealing with a woman and she, I'm communicating to her about these friends. And I'm telling her, hey, babe, you might have to check this. Or you need to take a look into that. Maybe you should kind of move like this. And let's say she's not as receptive to that message just yet. Is that still a woman that I should be continuing to advance my relationship with?
I know the answer to that one.
I would say that is a red flag. But if you do continue to advance your relationship, you went in it with your eyes wide
there
open.
you go.
But that was a red flag.
She's
Because
telling you.
again, marriage,
Mhm.
you and your wife are becoming one. That's the most important relationship you should have. If she can't understand that concept, then
Mhm.
she is not ready for that new endeavor of being married.
Okay.
It
Buyer
takes
beware.
some time.
And I ask that because a lot of times you'll have guys where they'll be like, hey, everything is great except for this or but this. So that one is
And the worst thing is when it's not just this outside friend that's just the ladies, when it's a brother and they fighting for the brother to be able to stay in the
Out.
relationship.
Yeah, because that is a thing. And
It's a
sometimes ladies
thing.
will say, hey, it's control. They're trying to control me and all these things. Is that just
I was about to speak to that. I was about to say, I think a lot of times women feel like you just want to control me, right? But if I say me and Ryan are dating and Ryan has my best interest at heart, then why would I say you have my best interest at heart? And then when you ask me to do something that is a benefit to the relationship, now I'm going to buck against it. Right. So I don't even trust. Matter of fact, I don't even trust myself. I do not trust myself. I don't trust myself that I can move forward with just you and I, whatever we are creating, without having these people in my life. Like, why is this so necessary? And listen, I have some of the most amazing friends, right? So I understand the whole idea of quote unquote giving up a friendship, right? But I've never had to give up a friendship, but I did bring space when it was needed. You understand?
I get that.
And let me backtrack. I'm sorry. And let me not say I never gave up a friendship, because there were some very unhealthy friendships that I did give up. But you have to, I don't know. I just got to the point where I'm like, when Shannon sees something, I trust what he sees. And so I move. And it's not Shannon said it, I move. No, I process it. I want to see what it is that you see. If it makes sense, I'm going with it.
I don't want to. That's a good poll. I want to ask that poll, by the way.
What's that? What's the question you got?
I want to ask. That's for the ladies here. Ladies, are you cutting off? Would you cut off male specifically. I just think that just kind of changes the temperature and the climate of things a tad bit.
Okay.
But male best friends at the request of your husband or, boyfriend, whatever the case might be. Just put, I guess you could put whatever word is best fitting in there. Ryan gonna sauce it up. Ryan's the grammar guy. He's gonna sauce that thing up. And what I also want to say, my people that's also backstage that want to come up, I need you to make sure you have your cameras on. I need your cameras on. Now, if you want to stay anonymous, just put anonymous as your display name so I know that you are somebody that wants to stay anonymous. But if you want to come up, though, I want you to have the camera on and that mic ready when you come back there. We are still in the initiation hotline. I'm dropping a link. Come back here and chop it up with us, family.
Yeah, the link is still in there. And I wanted to leave this one at a yes or no because I thought about throwing the depends in there. But I'm going to just leave this one as a yes or no.
They're going to weasel out.
We got, right. So we got ladies only. Would you cut off a male best friend at the request of your man? Now, this is a thing because I know they're like, well, what about this situation? About he's committed. He has told you that he wants to build a life with you, even if y'all not married yet. And he has shown to you that
it's an exclusive
relationship. He has shown to you that he is absolutely committed to growing and developing a long-term relationship with you. Would you cut off your male best friend for that man?
Hey, good question.
And
by the way.
let
Go
me
ahead,
say
Shirley.
this about the friendships too, right? There was a male that he and I were back in the day started doing GED programs together and going around speaking and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And he was married. I intentionally went to his house every chance I could get to spend time with his wife.
Mm.
Now we were young at this time. We were 19.
It's before
20.
you were married.
Yeah, this was before I was married.
Got it.
But I grew up, my parents stayed together till death. Amazing, beautiful relationship, right? So I really respect that the marriage unit, right? Even though I've disrespected the marriage unit, right? But right, for real, right? But I knew even at that age, like, okay, I'm not going to become friends with him and not befriend his wife. So if you have a male best friend or a female best friend, we all friends. Period. That's it. And listen, to this day, me and E, we don't go out, just me and E. It's gonna be me, Dee Dee, Eric, and Shannon.
Yeah.
You understand?
Right.
Like, Jeremy, that's my baby brother.
Jeremy Anderson.
That is my baby brother. I've known him since he was 14. I taught him how to drive a stick.
Wow.
Now, every once in a while, like maybe once a year, me and him may go out. But me and Tracy, like,
Tight.
You understand?
Yeah.
It's the four of us that we're going out. And listen, me and Jeremy can go out. I'm like, listen, I probably had him. I could have given birth to him at like 13 years old. You know what I'm saying? But we're just not putting ourselves in that position.
But what's wrong with just communicating that our relationship is getting ready to change now because I'm getting ready to be married or I am married?
Right.
Why? What is the cutoff thing? Maybe I don't understand cutting off because I don't hate this person. I still want to be there when they get married or when they have children or, big events in their life. I still want to be there because they were my friend, but we just can't do all those things that we used to do as single people.
Exactly.
And, if you need something or something's detrimental happening in your life, I still need to know, but I still have to move on in this endeavor of my life. Now, a lot of times what happens, especially I see this with men typically all get married. Like this, Tyshawn might get married first, and then about a year later, here comes Ryan.
First off, I'm already worried because Tyshawn, he getting too deep in his relationship. I need to get me a girl right now to catch up.
That's how it looks. And then like all of them are married within like 2 years. So we back together again. That's kind of how I've seen it play itself out.
Definitely.
That's true though.
That's kind of how I see it. But
so I want to listen. First of all, I don't know what it is. The family acting shy today. Listen, y'all better come up. Listen, we could probably got a few more minutes and hours. I said minutes and hours. We got a little bit more time with our people here. So make sure y'all come up in here and take advantage of this initiation hotline while we got this time. I'm gonna put the link in here one more time for the family. But That's all I got. But go ahead, Ryan.
Shout out to VJ and shout out to JL for sending over the super chat. SBU, of course, we love you for sending your super chat. And shout out to Kelly Green. Kelly Green said, Kelly Green Rivers. Got to throw that other last name in there too. She says, and two shall become one. You can still be whole and not sacrifice, but you evolved into a new woman. If you feel like you're sacrificing what makes you, then you have not grasped the concept of marriage.
All righty then.
Yeah, that was just a word. She just, I thought it was gonna turn to a question, but she just dropping the word. She said pretty much you don't understand the game if it take all that pretty much.
So check it out. What I actually want to do here is I want to transition here to a different part of this conversation. I think is very, very important. I spoke to a brother, and I'm very impressed. I keep talking about this. I'm very impressed with the caliber of the men that watch this channel. There's a brother that I have a lot of respect for that I did not even know was watching the channel. And I sat down, I caught up with him, and he was just telling me how much that it has influenced him. This is very well-to-do brother. Literally pulled out a journal, showed me notes that he has taken on episodes. And he also expressed some good things that he wants us to talk about. Some things that some problems he had with some things that we talked about. And first of all, I got so many ideas because I realized this is I had a chance to really talk to one of our male listeners in real life. It was just happened to be my boy.
Yeah, he's dope. And
he brought up something that was really phenomenal. He had actually a bit of a gripe with one of the previous episodes that we did. And it was the episode that we did actually with Yada. We had Yada come up on here and we talked about 50-50 relationships with the brother Yada. And, it's interesting because I agree with a lot of what Yada said, because essentially what Yada was saying was, man, the essence of the message was we need to step up and fully embrace the provider role. That's the essence of the message. But it's a lot of nuance in that, statement that we got to really contextualize, because he felt like it wasn't properly contextualized, because this brother's not the loser that's not putting himself in the position to be the provider. Actually, it is his goal to be the sole provider of his household. But he's like, yo, Ty, I'm working towards it. That's not where I'm at right now. So how can I actually maintain a healthy dynamic in my household on the way to that, which I thought was a really great question. And for those of you that may have actually missed the episode, just to give you a bit of an understanding, Lionel, go ahead and actually play a clip from the episode that we had here with Yada so you guys can get some context.
Men have sex. It's a difference, man. It's not just physical to them. It's everything. So you might have a woman that hasn't even been opening up to you sexually all the way because she's tired. She's drained. She's stressed. She's thinking about what the boss done said to her. She's thinking about what the coworker trying to hit on her. She's thinking about everything else but you, and she's tired. Now we're saying, come on, baby, I want some. We're not even romantic no more with it. We just want to hump on it. We just want to jump on it. Come on, man, we're sick, brother. We sick, so we're not providing for them financially. We're not providing for them emotionally, intellectually. We're not providing for them spiritually. Well, we deserve sex. Come on, bro. How can we even get aroused? That's devilish.
Oh, man. See, he used some real strong language.
He said, how can you even get aroused?
The devilish. I even think he said, brothers, that's 50-50 is a disease. I think it was a bit of the language, too.
Said it was sick.
Yeah, absolutely sick. So I want to talk to you ladies about this so we can get some context around this. First of all, just for even further context, when you ladies both started out your marriages, I want to go back to the very beginning. Were you guys, did you take on some financial responsibility at the top of the relationship to make sure, obviously your household was able to stay afloat early in a relationship?
I didn't.
You did not?
I didn't. Got pregnant 3 months after we got married, had our baby, then went up to Jersey, up to Philly, lived there. I wasn't working, right? So I was an at-home mom for quite some time.
Okay. That makes sense.
And Shannon provided.
Okay. What about you, SB?
What I remember the most is we've been one pot the whole time. So all the money is gone in one pot. We paid bills, and it was just, my husband has always been an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So whatever we had, we put in one pot and then took care of everything.
Yeah.
I did work. I didn't work like a whole lot because shortly after me working for someone, I did work for my husband. So I've been working for my husband the whole time
Yeah.
and doing real estate. So it's a little bit different for me.
Okay.
So,
Well, see, reason I'm just getting context there because I think, you know, that all goes into, I want to give the brother's idea of who's answering the question. But when we talk about, you know, how to keep a healthy relationship, right? Assuming that a man and a woman are both working, because again, his gripe was, yo, Todd, listen, it's right now, in order to have the type of lifestyle that the woman that I am typically attracted to keep that comfortability, not so we drop down drastically and all live under what I can have, us put it together, have a comfortable lifestyle, and yet still build, we'll probably both be working out the gate. But obviously I'm working to take that over, but that's not happening now. But on the way there, does that mean that I'm doomed? Does that mean that I don't get sex? Does that mean that all of these things happen until I'm able to hit that point where I can finally cover all the bills? More so, what does that look like? So give the brother some game here. How do you think that a man could potentially keep a healthy dynamic in his household, that masculine, feminine, good balance in the home, if they're both working?
I think that they both, if he's living now as an adult male, he has all his necessities and he's ready to be married. He needs to find a woman that is ready to be on his plan, living in his situation, whatever it is now. She should definitely work, but whatever she makes, it needs to go into one pot, and he needs to have a plan for that. Here's where the adjusting starts. Remember I said men tend to want to adjust. See, he wants to adjust already for what he thinks her lifestyle should look like. He needs to have a wife that their lifestyle looks the same, that her grow and build with him. He say he's getting there, so why can't she take the ride along the way instead of having to have it today and stress herself out working a job so they can have it today? See, you add stress to your relationship when you put those type of demands on other people for those reasons. Don't do it. If you want to have a good relationship that doesn't require or doesn't have a lot of growing pains, a man should be the provider, and everything should be based on what he can actually do. I'm not telling the woman not to work. I absolutely think she should work, but her money should go into for investments or what do you call those, rainy day funds. And we had, the car broke down, we needed to do this, things of that nature. We shouldn't just be paycheck to paycheck and everybody has to work and stress themselves out. I don't believe in that. I'm kind of like Yachty on that. That doesn't make sense, because it does happen. Women get tired and then they still have to come home and clean the house. And if they have children, you have to take care of the children. That stuff has to be done, regardless of what you're doing between 9 to 5. So I would say, you know what, make sure you plan your 9 to 5 really well, because you still have things to do when you get home. And as far as the man goes, if he wants to have it all, he needs to wait before he chooses that woman. If he wants to choose a woman now, then she needs to be the woman that fits into his means, wherever it is at that time.
And you said something interesting. Tell me if I heard correctly. You said that the type of woman that he wants, there's a certain lifestyle she wants him to have.
Well, I think more so what he was more so explaining was that he pretty much lives a comfortable lifestyle. Like he lives comfortable. And in order for her to have now 2 comfortable people, he's pretty much stating that those combined incomes are pretty much going to be required to invest, to save, to maintain what they have on the way to, you know, build a family, versus, you know, him just completely taking on the full financial brunt all by himself right out the gate.
Okay, you said that differently that time. The first time it was almost like there was no investing going on. Right now he can afford $100,000 house, just for example.
Yeah.
But he knows that this woman's gonna want a $200,000 house.
Yeah.
And he knows in order for her to have this $200,000 house, she needs to have enough money to put towards it.
Okay.
Okay.
Not necessarily that.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, not necessarily, but no, but I think that was well addressed too, because I think that's important. And I think that was a good example as far as the adjusting, because that's dangerous if brothers do that, because I know brothers are running into women like that as well.
Okay, I got you now.
But still, assuming that he's bringing on a woman that's okay, he's still just concerned about now being responsible for another person, only with, you know, now that one income, now having to take care of two people, with wanting to now build and grow and get to that end point where he can take it all over. His concern is, yo, Ty's gonna be a lifestyle drop. Like my income taking care of two people, that's not something that's sustainable for us over a period of time. And I don't want to be somebody that's saying, yeah, I want my woman to work, but temporarily until we position ourselves for us to comfortably, for me to comfortably, you know, provide for everyone, which I'm not there yet. I'm on my way. So what he's saying is, how do I keep a healthy home on the way to that point?
I mean, he may not even ever reach that point because the economy constantly goes. He needs to base it on his. So in other words, he's thinking that he has more earning potential than he has right now, which most of us do. If he stays in the same field, he'll probably get raises along the way. But I still think
he's an entrepreneur as well.
Okay. But that could go
right.
Okay. So I still think that he should have a wife. If she adjusts or if she says yes, then she would be willing to live under what he can actually afford at that time. But she does need to work. But all the money needs to go into one pot, and he needs to invest. As an entrepreneur, he should know that it needs to be more investing going on, because he doesn't want to work a job unless he's trying to go back to school and get some other kind of trade or degree in something that will yield him more money instead of being instead of being an entrepreneur. So her money goes in one pot. He invests her money, and he has to regulate his spending with a plan that says in 5 years, I'm gonna have this amount of money, then I'm gonna go out here and buy this house. That may mean we can't have cable vision. We might have to stream. That means he might have to drive that Toyota for another 5-10 years or what have you. But they still need to be living in what he, you know, off of what he actually brings to the table, how much money he actually makes, and her money should be an investment or for the extra stuff, like maybe that vacation once a year. But the money does not need to be just spent, or we're living in this $200,000 house because my wife brings in this amount of money for me to do this. That shouldn't happen.
Now, let me ask you this.
You have to marry. You need to marry and make decisions based on what's coming in right now, not on what you think is going to come in. Because when they have children, then what? Right. So if he's like, well, we could get to 200,000 because you're working, and then have children, and now she's no longer working. Now we're back down to the 100,000. Right. So you that's why family planning is so important.
And so, no, this is a good, and that's what we're talking about now. That's why this is so important. It's really like, I think we have confusion among what Yada was explaining was it's simple about the roles and responsibilities when a man is completely taking over that provider role. It's very clear what everybody's responsible for. It's confusion when that's not necessarily the case. Or it could be, because how would you assume in that situation, two people are currently working? Do you feel that the household duties in the home, how should those be optimally managed in that situation?
In a 50-50 situation.
Yes.
Oh, in a 50-50 situation?
Where both people have shared financial responsibility to manage the home. Now, these household duties, how should we properly be putting that in place for us to make sure we have order in the home?
I've never experienced 50-50, so I mean, but I you know, my thing is, if you see something that needs to get done, then do it. Right?
Is it really that simple?
In my household, it's that simple, right? So we have, when it comes to things, these are the rules. Mommy don't touch trash, right? So we already know the boys or Shannon will get the trash. And listen, there are some times where the trash is rolling over and there's nobody there to get it. I'm going to pull the trash, right? But when the kitchen needs to be done, like if there needs to be, if the bathroom needs to be done, I do most of it. But that's how I grew up.
Okay.
But if Shannon's like, okay, this bathroom needs to be clean, he'll just go ahead and clean it. He's not going to say, hey, babe, can you clean the bathroom? For us, we've never operated like that. It's just been, listen, you see something that needs to be done, you do it. Even though I do the majority of stuff. Shannon, he used to do the majority of cooking, right?
Yeah.
But then he got sick. I started doing the majority of the cooking. Now he's starting to do the cooking, right? So it's just like seasons, like things happen and people get sick and people got kids and right. And so for us, it's just like we work together, right? Even though majority cook, it'll be me, majority clean the house, it'll be me. But he steps right in, and not because I ask him. Most times it's just because he's like, let me do this so that babe don't got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
SB, I'm curious what you think about this, because the ladies in particular, they that's something that they worried about. They're like, look, if both of us got to work, how can you possibly expect me to work and then come home and take care of all the household duties while, I don't know what they be thinking dudes be doing, playing video games or whatever it is. So how does it work if both people is providing?
I don't think a woman should be providing per se. I do
Okay.
think she should work,
Okay.
but I don't think she should be taking on a job that is stressful, tiresome, and all of that. So I would say go get you a teacher's job, a real estate job, or be an entrepreneur, do something of that nature, because the house got to be clean. The kids got to be taken care of if you have them. And I actually take pride in doing that kind of stuff. So I want to do it. I don't think my husband cleans as well as I do.
So I got you. So you saying that the woman is working, it should be something that's not driving her insane and
She
driving her to
shouldn't
the
be
ground.
at GE putting car parts together. She
Mm.
shouldn't be stressed about her career. And no, she shouldn't. Like I said, I've been a real estate agent since 2001. Make lots of money, but it doesn't stress me out. I could sell one house a month.
When you right,
Right.
right.
It'd be just fine. Because again, the most important thing is my marriage and my children and my family. And, so that's where my concentration should be. And I shouldn't allow the things that are going on in my home to put me in a situation where I have to stress out about them and go get this job that requires me to work 50 hours a week and be tired and be around a bunch of people that do nothing, a bunch of gossiping and wear these short skirts and things of that nature. So I'm tempting men, or men are tempting me, and I'm spending more time with other people than my husband and my children.
Mm.
All that stuff plays into my marriage. People don't think it does, but it really does. This is something crazy, y'all. But one time, even when I go to our office, you can drive down the street the same path every day, and you start to see the people around y'all, and they're the same people. What if that good looking man is right there and he keeps pulling up at the same time, because we go to work at the same time, and now next Monday he smiled at me. I'm like, ooh, wow. One day we need to stop playing around. I think we play too much. I think we don't take life serious enough. Everybody knows what looks good. Everybody knows you don't have to, he didn't have to roll down the window and say, hey, for me to know he was checking me. I knew the man, you know what I'm saying? We know things go on, but we pretend and be like, no, I'm good. Nobody's paying me any attention. No, I didn't see that woman with that short skirt on. Yeah, you did. She looked good, and then don't smell them.
Oh boy.
Whereas we can protect our marriages and ourselves and maybe work 5 hours a day, or like I said, work for yourself, work at the school system, or do something else that doesn't take our mind and our time away from our marriages and our children and our family, and be at home when those kids come home from school, and still clean our house and not be dead tired, and still have sex with our husbands and keep that bond going for life.
So, because it's funny, you got a big following of men.
Yeah.
And this is a hard conversation for the brothers right here.
Really?
Brothers don't like being told that they need to take on a financial responsibility by themselves. That's a very, very hard conversation for the brothers.
What's the root of that? Like, what is it?
I think it's just, if you ask me, I think it is deeply, I don't even know if many brothers can even admit to this, but I think it's an insecurity that you can actually pull it off.
But that's not what I said, though. I think a woman should work.
Well, see, when you're talking about working for, I think, but you're saying something different, though. You're saying something different. You're not talking 50-50.
No.
Yes.
No.
But anytime you denounce 50-50, that's still a conversation that pisses off men at large. And I'm shocked you don't know that. Because if you tell men, no, I don't think that you should be 50-50, I think you need to be able to hold, because that's pretty much what you're saying. You're saying your money is like it comes in, it could, it might not, because you got kids, this and that. But guess what? You need to be able to consistently perform in this area, regardless of what I do over here. Right.
So it's the fear of failure that maybe I won't perform to your expectations of me being able to provide consistently for the rest of our life.
And the fear of just probably, giving somebody else your resources. I think it's probably a trust thing as well.
I think both of those things, when you consider, because just look at the thoughts of men, right? Just even as they communicate about women, it's a bunch of communication around not trusting this person and their intentions, right? Even when we start talking about money around brothers, it's them talking about how hard it is to make it in these times, in this era. All these things about the government and that economy, which is true. It's a real conversation. It is hard. So that's a real weak spot to men, especially because we know innately that we're supposed to be providers. We know that. So, and trust me, we've said the same thing too. And we've been saying this loud for the last few years. And every time we say it, we simps.
We get accused of being simps.
But
Yeah.
Every single time.
I say this, but I think a lot of my male followers love the idea of having a woman that loves and respects and caters to them. And that's what it's about them. It's not about this job. It's not about her wanting the bag. That stuff isn't important to her. She more so wants a good relationship with her husband. And I think men absolutely like that.
Yeah, that's what we want.
And that
True.
speaks to both of the points that you guys made. What God put in man is literally the desire to lead, be the priest, to provide and protect. And what God put in women is the gift of nurture. Right? We're to nurture our man, nurture our children, nurture our home. So like both, you're right. Like, innately, like, man, I know I should be providing.
Yeah.
Right. And so it is fear for you guys. Right. And it's so crazy because security is so important to us as women. And women have a hard time saying that money is attached to that security. Like, I don't have no problem saying that. Money is attached to that security. I need to, when I leave my daddy, you're taking me on. Right? Like, how are you taking care of us? But men need to understand that's not a negative thing. And I think that's the problem.
Don't mean she a gold
Y'all,
digger.
thank you. Y'all think it's negative. Like, we're just going to take y'all money in, right? And so it's just, man, just the man-woman dynamics just needs to be just nurtured. And we need to love on each other because we have such... for real, like we on demon time with one another.
We're very dysfunctional.
Yeah.
But that's why I always say one pot. Why can't you trust one pot? If I'm a woman, I'm out here working and I'm bringing all my money, putting in one pot, what is there not to trust? Right. If he's doing the same thing, what is there not to trust?
So no personal account, you saying?
No.
Wow. Y'all don't have no personal accounts.
Well, we have business accounts.
Yeah.
But no, everything is joint per
Out
se.
in the open.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
I trust that.
Matter of fact, let's close out that poll real quick.
You hear that, Shannon?
Let's see.
So I'm gonna close out this poll. Ladies only. Would you cut off a male best friend at the request of your man?
And going for a minute.
70, over 260 votes. 75% of women say yes. So it's a quarter of women that are like, no,
that are problems.
And see, I think sometimes people don't really understand what's going on because. Right. Because I think those women are probably, first of all, I don't even know what kind of value this one man can be providing where you wouldn't, cut them off.
Right.
I know him
for the last 5 years.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times they think because they're not doing anything that they're not open up to other things happening. But I remember, man, it's crazy. I remember when I was in college and certain things I really didn't know kind of in college. And I remember one of my friends, this was my friend, like never, ever done anything. She really was it was repulsive to me to even think about her like that. It's like my sister. And I remember she was so upset with her boyfriend. I'm talking about she was steaming about this dude. And, he was doing some questionable things at that time, and I just listened. I was not giving counsel. I'm just listening. And I remember my roommate walking in and he kind of sat on the couch. We all sit on the couch. She just kind of still going in about this dude. And at some point, I'm like, I was trying to deal with another girl. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go upstairs real quick. I'll be back downstairs. And I ended up being upstairs for maybe like 30 minutes or something like that. And I came downstairs and she was gone. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess everybody left, So I text her. I'm like, yo, why you leave the spot and didn't let me know you left? I would have walked you outside, whatever. Didn't get a text back. Okay. Now the next morning, I get up, I go downstairs. You know where she at? She coming out my roommate's room.
Oh my God.
Right.
Slayer.
And then, but see, when I think about the
Mm.
woman who doesn't want to let the best friend go, see, it wasn't me.
Mhm.
It was somebody I
Mhm.
brought around,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what it really was. So it's like
Ah.
it's not always. It's just so many things that happen. But it's not necessarily that your best friend is the guy that's trying to get with you. But I was a single man,
Mhm.
so I'm not concerned. I mean, she's my friend. I'm not concerned if there's another single dude around or if another single dude might be interested. I know I'm not.
Mhm.
But it's just like I think women really have to think past this one singular relationship and what you might not be doing with that dude. You know what I mean?
And our
Yeah,
senses as
yeah.
man, let me tell you, our senses as men are different. We sensing things that either y'all are trying not to sense, right? Yeah, right. Y'all trying to numb them senses and we sensing it, or y'all just can't sense because we know men. We know men. And what I found is that typically when a woman if a woman is having a hard time letting go of another guy, I truly usually think is because of the respect she has for the brother. Because if she has a true high regard of respect, like a true high regard of respect for you, your opinions, like your counsel,
Mhm.
she's gonna truly take this into consideration and do what she got to do. Because it's like a simple situation. I mean, like it's like a simple answer. Am I going to? Or do I see myself life better? Can I have my life only with this guy or this guy? Like what is it? It's not that hard.
Mhm.
And when it comes down to it, and you not in being considered in that way, and you not being chosen
Mhm.
over this other phantom
Right.
dude, you just ain't quite there. You
Mhm.
ranked really high on her roster, regardless of your title. And I too have had a toxic situation with a young lady that our relationship was going downhill. Our relationship was going downhill. Yeah, that's a good womp right there, because that's really what was going down. And I remember another brother came into play into the conversation that started coming into communication out of nowhere. And I already knew what time it was. And it's funny because I know that kind of brother too, because that kind of he kind of reminded me of myself. It was kind of weird of like kind of how he would communicate with her.
Mhm. Wow.
And just how he had like this very playful, lighthearted approach of kind of jumping in and jumping out of her life in this way that I would just typically do with women as well. And that's just kind of how you keep them around and just kind of keep it going. And yeah, she did not want it. But again, at the point where we were like at a point where, first of all, we already should have been broken up. It was like we had that kind of relationship where it went way past this deadline.
Mhm.
And all this nonsense started coming. But that's the only time I've ever had that happen. So I can imagine if another brother's dealing with that, that's just kind of the situation that you're in, brother.
Yeah, you got to get out of that. I mean, you got to let that one go, in my opinion.
It is what it is. But let me tell you, y'all better
Hold
go
on,
ahead.
wait. Look at SB. SB, what you think about that? What you think about my little story, my little collegiate story I told you about?
I think it was my story that had to face like that.
Is that one?
No, well, both of your stories. It was just we always have a story. That was my thoughts.
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Always have a story.
It was, let me tell you, that, oh man. First of all, I remember that was a story and a time that I was so ashamed of. I remember I was so ashamed of it. Like when you don't even want to tell your friends, like you embarrassed to tell somebody else about the story or the situation that you're going through. It was that kind of story. Because I remember I was man, I talk about him all the time, man. My coach, my big dog. I'm sitting down with him one day. We on his back balcony. He like, yeah, what's going on with life, man? Yeah, how the young lady going, blah, blah, blah. And I bust out and I tell him that story. And I think he was smoking a cigar at this time. He was like literally lighting a cigar while I'm telling the story. All I heard, as soon as I finished telling him that, I heard the whole canister close on the lighter, like, just looked at me like, and the look was like, Negro, where's your pride right now, Negro?
Wow.
But listen, brothers, it can happen. It can happen, man. It absolutely can. And I want y'all to go ahead, send y'all super chats in right now, because we're about to get these ladies up out of here tonight. So y'all better go ahead and get these questions in. Get the questions in now.
You got any
Man,
call-ins or
no, we didn't. The link is not here, so the people don't have access to it. Here's what I'll do as well. I'll put the link here again because look. We didn't get to talk to the family. I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna let one or two people get up here and ask any questions that they may have. I really would like to see if we can get some brothers up on here on this joint.
And this is actually a lot because people are still very confused. Like, this is actually a live show. So if you tune in, we are live right now. It's December, what's today's day? December
17th.
December 17th at 6:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are live.
Yes, guys, listen. So just from now on, this is what's going to happen. We are now bringing you guys essentially nothing but live shows now. So this is what the future of Hardly Initiated. So y'all gonna be able to go ahead and kick it with us and talk to the family live in person. I went ahead and I recently just went ahead and dropped that link in the chat. If you want to be more anonymous, you like the text, you could go ahead and send the super chat right here as well, and we'll answer that. But we're about to get these lovely ladies back to their families here on this Sunday. Y'all, we working on Sunday, y'all. This is different.
It's different.
All right. This is very different. But first of all, I want to thank you, ladies, so much for coming up here and chopping it with us on a Sunday.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
and I mean, y'all have really put some really good game out, from us reviewing the video at the top to talking about the traits of a good woman to talking about, you know, the household and finance conversation. I think these are very, very important conversations to bring clarity to a lot of the confusion that's being put up out here in this world, because y'all know it's a whole lot of confusion coming on up out here. But I think, Ryan, man, I think the family, man, this Sunday, we got to get them warmed up.
Yeah, it's
to
gonna
know that
take some
live.
time. It's gonna take some time.
It is going to take some time. Y'all still got to understand that this is happening. So I want y'all to know, and I'm going to leave y'all with this, because understand, every Sunday at 5 p.m., every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m., we will be here. So y'all be ready with because the initiation hotline will be happening live in effect. Okay. Every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesdays. All right. And we're going to be coming to you guys. And we coming actually tomorrow with another episode. We got some announcements for the people, something that we need to let them know about that's coming up this upcoming week.
No, not really. I mean, we got the Monday and Wednesday episode, guys. Like I told y'all, over 1,000 initiates. So we expect y'all to be live in full effect tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, no episodes on December 24th, December 25th, and also December 31st. So that means that this Sunday, of course, we're live right now, but the next Sunday that we're going to be live is not until January 7th. But every Monday, Wednesday after that, we still taking it, you know, still turning it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, y'all, thank you guys so much for coming up in here and tuning into another episode of Hardly Initiated. I need you to please, guys, please help us continue to grow these subscribers. We just celebrated 200 and we're already at 211,000. Continue to subscribe and help us grow this beautiful platform that we are putting into this world, into this universe, into these YouTube streets, to change the narrative, to educate the people, and to see a new outcome in our families and our homes, y'all. So please continue to hit that like button and subscribe. But y'all already know, Hardly Initiated, we are out.